episode of Maintenance with Mike. So today we are in the bathroom. We've got a new interior door that I just quickly installed to see what we had for height. Unfortunately, in the bathroom, because of sounds that come out of the bathroom, we want these a little bit closer to the floor than the 1.5 inch that they're off right now. So stick around. We're gonna quickly take this door out. I'm gonna show you how to cut the jamb down to drop the door so it's about 1/2 inch off the floor. You can check the floor to make sure it's leveled. We'll put it back in. I'll show you how to use the shims and use a oscillating saw to cut off the shims, which is probably the safest way to do it. Reason for doing this is I need to trim around the outside of the door to do the to have a border to butt the tile up to. Have a shower enclosure here, but I'm going to tile a couple rows above just in case you know, people get excited and splash around. I don't want to get any water up above that ledge. So anyway, stick around and we'll get right with it. This is about 1.5 inch gap, which is a bit too much for what we want for a bathroom door. We want to drop this down to 1/2 inch. So what we need to do is cut off some off the jamb on each side and then reinstall the door and make sure it's plumb. But I'll show you a trick on when you cut when you cut this down to 1/2 inch. You don't want to cut the exact same amount off each side because we don't know if these are the exact same length. Yeah, so once you cut off down to 1/2 inch on the hinge side, I always like to measure from the top of the jamb on the hinge side down to where I cut, and then copy that same measurement and measure this one and cut that amount off the other side as well. That way you don't get any of this. More than likely the stock jamb is the same length on both sides, but it's a good check anyway. So let's begin to rip this out, and then we'll take it outside and we'll show you how to cut the jamb. That inside where that piece goes, these are the screws that screw through the jamb to secure the frame, and they're hidden behind this door stop. So you basically just pop that door stop off the one side and then screw right through to plumb this. This is a tip I got from my father-in-law on how to do this. And then also on this side, the nice thing about this is you use the same color screw that you have on your hinge, and you'll see this is a Robertson screw. These are the Phillips screws. So these are just the 1 inch screws or 5/8 screws that hold the hinge in. This is a 3 inch screw that goes right through the jamb into the 2x4 support. So there's no holes here that you have to putty. Makes a really nice finish. So we're gonna do the same when we put it back in, and we'll show you how to do that. And the third one's down here. Okay, so this side of the door is can basically be moved now. Now what we want to do is, should probably take this striker plate off, because when I lay this down to cut the bottom of the jamb, this is going to get in the way. So we'll just pull this off quickly. It's just 2 screws. Oh yes, I almost forgot. So there's 4 screws on each side, and you'll see another sneaky trick from my father-in-law. You'll see here's another framing screw that holds the door jamb. This door jamb's still solid because there's another screw that goes in behind the striker plate to hold it, so it's hidden as well. So you don't have any screw holes to putty. So let's pull this one up. There you go. Okay, so I've got the door outside now. This is the bottom of the jamb. We said we wanted the door to be 1/2 inch off the floor. So if we mark 1/2 inch on the jamb, we can transfer that. Mark. With the square. That's where we want to cut. Let's double check that we're 1/2 inch. Yes, we are. That's good. So what we want to do now is line up our skill saw blade on the outside of this line that we want to cut, just to double check, and take our speed square and push it up to this skill saw. And that acts as a nice place to run the skill saw against, so you have a nice square cut. Okay, so let's make our cut. And you want to make sure that you're running the skill saw blade nice and fast so you don't get any burrs. This actually turned out really nice. Maybe just a little bit of light sanding on that edge. But not too much. Perfect. Okay. Let's flip the door over. But first, like we said, we will measure this jamb on this side, and that is 81 3/8. 81 3/8. Okay. Let's double check that on the other side once we flip it over. So 81 3/8 from the top. And let's mark that. 81 3/8. Let's draw a line there and just double check that it's matching up. With what we cut off the other side. Pretty sure it is identical. Yeah. Definitely identical. So that'll leave us with, you can double check it. You can double check it and measure from the door to the line and make sure it's 1/2 inch, which it is. So let's make our second cut. Nice. And that is now cut down to 1/2 inch off the floor. Okay, let's take the door back inside. So we've got the door set in there now. I like to do the hinge side first. So basically you want to set it on the ground so that the two jambs are sitting on the ground properly. Take a quick note, I guess, of how it's sitting, this gap all the way around. Does it look sort of even? So basically you want to push it back so that it's centered between the opening, and check for plumb against the depth of the drywall too. So that's pretty much plumb straight up and down. We know that. It's not quite sitting level because the gap at the top left here is a little bit wider than on this side, so we want to suck that back a little bit more once we screw that in. But to do this side, the hinge side first, it looks plumb. I like to work you know, sort of in a counterclockwise from the hinge side, so get this side plumb. I put some screws, those 3 hidden screws in the hinges through on this side with the shims, and then basically I adjust make sure it's level, this gap at the top, and then finally make sure the gap between the jamb and the door on this side. This side still has the shipping piece in it here, so we're gonna have to take that out. Well, right now I guess is what we should do. Take that out, swing the door open, put some shims underneath the door so it's level, and then we can put some shims on this side here and run some screws through the jamb. So what we're doing now is just making sure that the jamb is flush between the drywall and that. And by doing that, it's lifting up on the door here. You'll see that. So let's put a shim underneath the door to hold it. The other one's going to be here. So we're going to have 3 screws that'll hold this in. Okay, let's put the first one in there. And we'll adjust the 2 bottom ones. Cut that off after. That's just into the shim now so that we don't have to try to hold it. What we're doing here is just making sure it's, you know, flush on the inside, flush on the outside, so that we can put our molding on. You can always set your Olfa knife and trim a little bit of the drywall out. We want to make sure this is plumb, otherwise your door's going to try to open on its own, right? It'll try to swing itself in and out if it's leaning. That is pretty good. Well, it's really good actually. Let's shim the bottom. Now, because this can come off here now. This doesn't have to do anything. It'll be held up by the 2 screws that are already in there. So you just want to make sure that you get this side nice and plumb first. And obviously a 6-foot level is better than a 4-foot level, but if you go from you hold it tight against the center one that you've secured, and if the level is you know, not there's no gap or anything between, you can see that's nice and flush all the way up, and it's plumb. And then same with, hold it tight at the midspan. The level does come out a little bit. There's a little bit of a gap here, so that would mean that we can loosen off this screw and knock these shims in a bit more, so that this piece is nice and straight. what we're trying to achieve here is when we hold the level tight against this center section here, that there's no gap between the level and you can see there's a little bit here, but if we just knock those in a bit, we can, it's quite difficult. It's almost nice to have two people to keep these shims all nice and straight in here while you're doing it. But it's definitely doable with one person. Oh, that's good. And what you want to do is just close the door and make sure that gap is pretty much the same around here, which it does look quite good. Now we don't put any screws in the top, obviously, just in the jambs on the side. So what we can do is now start to shim. Put some shims in so that this side basically maintains this, you know, I would say that's probably an 1/8 inch all the way down. Unfortunately the wall here is not that straight, so a little off. But we can just put some shims in to kind of get it straight. And hopefully that'll work. We'll see how that works in a second here once we put our level in here and see what's happening. Looks good right like that. Well, this stud's definitely not straight, but you know what? That's what the shims are for. So we're just going to lightly shim this all the way down now to make up this difference here. Not too far. No, looking good still. Once again, these are the hidden, so this will be hidden behind this piece once this goes back on, once I brad nail this back on, right? This will be hidden. The screws will be hidden behind here, so. And I will have to cut this as well. So, little trick with cutting these is this has got the 45-degree angle cut in it for inside here. So what you do is you flip that upside down, put the 45 on the ground, and you mark the inside of here with the knife, with the offal knife. And that mark right here is what we need to cut off. So once again, the 45-degree miter that goes inside here later, you put that to the ground, and you go inside the jamb where the top is going to match the other 45 miter, and you mark it with your Olfa knife. And that's what you need to cut off for this to be flush on the ground and fit inside the 45. So we'll cut that in a little bit. This is looking good. You can hear it's just rubbing slightly at the top. The gap here is pretty good all the way around. You can see it gets a little wider as we go here. So, a little tight up here. Take a little bit out of here, I think it's going to have to happen. Probably happened when we pounded this piece in here, when I tried to make it just a little bit bigger. So let's take that right out of there for a second and see if it closes. And just basically release the tension there. So you can see the gap is a little bit too wide here. We definitely want to bring that in slightly, but not too much. Want to tighten that up a little bit. And that's what's going to do there. Let's try that. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, so I can put the striker plate back on and put the door handle back in. And then I'm going to go grab my oscillating tool and cut all these shims off nicely. And I'll cut that stop as well. I'll grab my air nailer. Okay, got the oscillating tool. So we're gonna trim these pieces off now. I think it's the safest way to keep them from getting all out of whack here. And we also trimmed this 45 piece that I talked about. It basically just fits under here nicely now. And it's a little bit tight. It bows out a little bit, but that makes it snap nicely on. And again, we're going to brad nail that, and that covers all the screws. And there's one behind the striker plate, so no screws to putty. Okay, let's trim these off. See that works? Same on this side. And one last one up here. Yeah, let's put the handle in here first. Then we'll push it into the latch, and then we'll nail that door stop on nice and tight to the door, so it's, when the door closes, it's properly set. One down. Of course, with the passage set like this, you always want the screws on the inside of the door. That's how it's supposed to go, anyway. I've definitely seen them on the opposite side of the door as well. So what we want to do is close this nicely, and this bump stop, we want to make sure that it's, so we have some adjustment with this piece. So it's pretty tough to see here, but we can I can kind of show you what we're doing. So you'll see now the door is sitting flush here. That one looks like it could use another nail in it. It's not sitting too strong there. So then this piece goes into here, and that sits right against the door to hold it. So when you close it, you get that nice sealed feeling. Okay, so let's nail this on. That's how we get the nice, no rattling. Yeah, it turned out really well. There you go. So you can see the gap in the bottom of the door now is much, well, it's exactly half an inch, I bet. Okay, so for the 1x4 trim that goes around the inside of the door, the best way to measure this to basically you want to have the trim come halfway down this jamb on each side. So if you measure the outside of the jamb to the inside of the jamb, that's the same as measuring center to center. So outside of the jamb on this side to inside of the jamb on this side is 30 3/4 of an inch. So that's the inside and the inside of the 45. So let's go cut this top piece of 1x4. So the first thing we want to do is cut 145 this way. And it's 30 3/4. Here. And then we cut the other 45 this way. Here, this mark. So that's the 45. Okay, so we've cut this to the 30 3/4, and that's going to give us halfway on this piece and halfway on this piece, which is exactly what we want. Oh, that looks like it's just going to clear this shower. I'm not going to get much of a piece in there, but it is what it is. So we want to basically just put it, halfway on this trim, halfway onto here, halfway onto here. So it looks pretty straight. Like get the level, put it on there, make sure we're in the right area where we want to be here. Okay, see how nice that looks? So I'll show you another quick trick on, so basically what you do is you just take these two pieces and you cut 245s in them. And then we do the same trick as we did to that molding. Flip them upside down, mark them on the top of this, and take them outside and do the finished cuts. So let me grab those pieces. I'll cut 245s in, I'll bring them back in, I'll show you once more how to do that. Okay, so as you see, we've got two pieces here. One with a 45 cut this way, the other one with a 45 cut this way. Basically, this one obviously goes on this side because it joins up with this. But the easiest way I find, you cut the 45, you flip this upside down, put the point to the bottom of the ground, take your knife and mark right here. So that's that one. Cut that off flat there. Take this one, put the point to the ground, and mark this one. Cut it off right there. So let me go cut those and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've cut those the length down from where we mark them. Basically set it on the floor. And voila, a beautiful fit. Same thing on this side. Oh, my level's a bit more. Clean up the dust here on the bottom. Set it there. Oh man, just misses that cover plate. There you have it. Ooh. Okay, that was close. Almost got the camera. Almost got the camera. This side, same thing, stick to the bottom, snap it in. That's pretty much it for trimming the inside of the door. So yeah, and then once we're all done with that, you basically take this Alex Plus and you run a bead around all the crack, and that also helps hold it all together too, eh? Hey, thanks for watching another episode of Maintenance with Mike. That is hanging an interior door and trimming it out with 1x4 pine. If you like these videos, please consider sharing them with your friends and family. Consider subscribing to the channel as well. You'll get notified of upcoming videos as we post them. And thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.